It has been 3 days of very exciting work from this end. We managed to discuss a number of issues, and I'm going to invite some of our colleagues here, Eugene and Aristide, who are going to give you feedback on what we did. We had people, as you can see on the image, in this room, and others were connected from other places in the country. So I invite Eugene to tell you how we proceeded during these 3 days. Then Aristide will come up and describe the participation sheet, and then we will proceed with giving you what was the outcome of our work from here before we got into telling you what we think is the way forward, looking at all the difficulties and constraints that the media may have in attending to this subject matter. So, Eugene, you have the floor.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Fidelite, for the opportunity. You asked how it was. I want to say that it was very enriching being part of the conversation on the issue of debt and development on the continent of Africa and in Cameroon particularly. So briefly, to tell you how it went, we started off on Wednesday, which we came to this fall Wednesday when we had an overview of the 3 days of the conference from Ardin and the partners that we have. We went straight into the subject matter and development. We discussed issues, and after that, we had to listen to presentations from you in Nairobi. We listened to people like Peter. We listened to people like we listened to Peter from Oxfam. We listened to Ruben. We listened, and then the high point was the presentation from Maya Hayakawa, which was talking about humanizing data in our report, so that the layman can easily understand what we are talking about. Since we understand the problem of issues of concepts and language could be misunderstood if they are not humanized for the local man to understand. So I should say that it was very report about debt and development, and we came out with some what we call recommendations on what should be done for journalists to actually be empowered. We were saying that it should be after the humanization, the report that will be easily understood. We think that we should go further, because on the first day also we had to understand the joint declaration of Cameroon, Congo, Gabon, Sao Tome and Principe, Central African Republic, Equatorial Guinea, and Chad on their common stand on mobilizing a common advocacy on debt on Central Africa. That was presented to us, and we gave our own inputs as reporters and journalists to that document. Then the following day, that was yesterday, we also had the opportunity of getting abreast with another document, which is the African Borrowing Charter, which we understood that the African Borrowing Charter is a very important document, which, if it is well popularized, people will have a great impact. We were saying that when we read through the document yesterday as participants, we realized that Cameroon, for instance, a country like Cameroon, is already using part of the document, because in the 2018 financial law of the country, it states that the autonomous sinking fund will be publishing the country's debt after every quarter, and which has been done. And when we look critically, we realize that that was picked from the charter, just like many other aspects. But we think We think that we need to popularize it and make it more understandable by the population. All stakeholders, including parliamentarians, including mayors, including senators, including members of the regional assemblies, including all civil society actors, including journalists, will need to be sensitized, will need to be abreast with this document. Because we said if this document is well understood by policy, by lawmakers, and by journalists, the advocacy will be taken to a different level. So we think that if we can take this recommendation and make sure that such conversations are held not only within us journalists and civil society lead organizations, but we include policy makers, we include lawmakers, we are going to move a step forward. We are also saying that there should be some smooth collaboration between institutions that are managing debt on the continent, financial institutions that are in charge of debt management on the continent, because we know that our head of state already signed and agreed that the institution we put in place that was about a decade ago, but we also want to, we are saying that such an institution be made functional, and then there should be collaboration between those who are there now, so that there should be some smooth way of functioning, that if debt on the continent, we can easily follow up what is happening with debt on the continent if there is some collaboration between the institutions in charge. And we were also saying, with that also, we should also try and see that the capacities of all the stakeholders is enhanced. With the enhancement of the capacity, we will be able to vulgarize the charter and make it known to every government official or those who are supposed to be using this charter.
Thank you very much, Eugene. That's in terms of the way they conducted the event from this end. Now, I think it's going to tell you how many news media, which news media did we have from us here. I still got the form.
Merci Martin, merci Fidélité.
Alors, thank you, Martin. Thank you, Fidélité. For this 3-day workshop, 10 journalists were present in person, and 10 were following the seminary or the workshop online for the reasons related to the coronavirus pandemic. We couldn't bring all the journalists for an in-person meeting. The 10 journalists were coming from public and private media, written media, as well as online media or TV channels. The ECOFIN agency in Cameroon, the CRTV, the National Television, Mutation, Repair. There were in total many media houses. After we have highlighted a certain number of challenges which should be addressed in order to allow media, the press and journalists in Cameroon to deal properly with the issue related to debt and development. The first fundamental aspect is to empower or to build the capacities of journalists. Debt being a technical subject, we realized that the lack of understanding of this topic really prevented journalists in to carry out properly their work. So journalists need to be we need to build the capacities of journalists. The second challenge is that of access and availability of information and the readiness of public officials to provide information on the decision making. The third topic or challenge is the financial one. So all the media and journalists around the world know that we know that media are financially less equipped, because if you have to talk about debt, you need to deal with issues regarding project implementation. So the media need means, financial means, in order to follow up and see if debt that has been contracted is well used or spent. And we have identified technical challenges. That is in terms of broadcasting, reporting, or information, especially in rural areas where access to internet or electricity is very rare or difficult. And we have also suggested alternatives to information access. And the last challenge is about security. Debt issues are usually related to corruption and illicit financial flows. So journalists who deal with such issues are facing insecure, because they are threatened by those who perpetrate such illicit acts. It can be physical attempts on their personalities. So regarding challenges, that is what we have been able to highlight. And I want to add a word on the way forward. Njimba has started with the way forward. Now,
like I said, we were saying that there should be total collaboration between the civil society and other stakeholders. Stakeholders here, we are talking about the media, we are talking about locally elected officials, we are talking about those who hold power, we are talking about the government. So we have to work in synergy, and to do that, we need to work as a network. We have to work as a network that when such issues of debt are up, we who are of the media are informed so that we can easily follow up. This is coming after we must have had our training or some form of capacity building on how to trace all of it. So if this is happening, we have to work in collaboration. That is the way to work in collaboration. Make sure that also the financial institutions in charge of debt on the continent are working, have a smooth collaboration amongst themselves, and make sure that all the other institutions that are supposed to be in place are in place. From there, we can move forward.
Okay, what's the way forward? Aristide, as it concerns the media,
now, for the way forward in terms of, we need to set up a network of journalists who work on the debt issue. That is important for me, because not all journalists have a same level of understanding of the debt issue. So that network will allow journalists to help each other, support each other in order to build their capacities and understanding on issues related to debt. In Africa, in Cameroon, we really need to set up such a network and share knowledge and experience and information in order to better highlight the issue of debt. The second thing is the network which will be built need to work with NGOs and civil society organizations which are committed in advocacy for an African position regarding debt. And in order, that network should support the civil society in this action. And we are ready and we are listening to you.